Yo, yo, you see these dreams only seem to manifest when I'm woke. I'll bite the wings off an angel if that shit helps me cope. But on this downhill stream where we tumble and roll, it seems I only find solace in a couple of folks. Yeah, man, I'm grown now. I'm trying to move.
23rd of February 2021. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen to the ramblings of this semi-insane individual. As you know, I strongly believe that all of us, every single one of us on this planet is insane. It's the absolute truth. In my opinion, actually, in my opinion. Let's not say it is the absolute truth, but in my opinion, we're all insane. And I'll tell you why. The reason why I believe we're all insane is we live in a world that is insane, and we all participate in this world maintaining its status of insanity. And if we participate in maintaining and expanding a system that itself is insane and promotes insanity, then by virtue of that, we're all insane. I'm just saying, there's nothing wrong. There's always this connotation about, when people are insane, there's this negative connotation. In a world where everybody's sane, the insane man is probably a genius. So it all depends on perception, really. I don't mind being insane. I don't mind being called insane. I mean, if I can think the way I think and see what I see, and to be able to develop my mind, to find reason to extrapolate myself from this society, from this system. I won't say society because we're talking about two different dynamics here. Society would involve the communal aspect of it integrated, but the system is the structure that we're looking at. It is the structural It is the structure of the system that we have to really focus on taking into account. That's the thing that is fundamentally broken. The system is broken. Anyway, like I said, the episode has started, really. We've started. It's just me, misbehaving here, but I'm actually going to put all of this out there. It doesn't really matter to me, it's not like I have a mega audience anyhow. This is just me in my own world, just trying to make sense of it all. When I want to learn, I listen. What is the point of it all? What is the point of it all? Why do we do what we do? Why are we here? What are we doing here? These are very interesting questions. Questions a lot of us dare not ask because we don't hear any answers. There are no scripted answers. There's no voice whispering the answer to you. This one requires that you dig even deeper. Okay, so why are we here? Why am I doing this? Why am I sitting down here in front of a camera? I have other things that I could be doing. Why am I sitting down here in front of a camera doing this? Experiencing this exchange feeling. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? I was listening to Lynette Zhang yesterday, and she was talking about Lynette Zhang she's a host for ITM Trading, and they do all these trading shows. I think it's almost daily, and I subscribe to her, I listen to her, I love her show. I like the way she talks and the way she describes stuff. I'll put a link somewhere so you guys can check out her show too. And she was talking about destiny. She was talking about destiny Destiny. She was talking about how she got to the point where she recognized what her purpose was. And I was thinking about that since yesterday when I was watching this. My mind went over purpose. I was just thinking about purpose. The idea of purpose. The different kinds of purpose. I was writing something on purpose. Let me just read this. This is quite interesting. I haven't finished it. It's part of my new book, but I think I would. I'll just read it because this is like this EA2 podcast thing is non-scripted. It's just whatever comes out. So this is what's coming out. Eventually would make some sense, but right now it doesn't really matter what we make, as long as we understand each other, and we being me, myself, and I, and you, of course, those tuning in. All right, I'll read this. Purpose. I believe that I was created by a divine force that is unexplainable. Regardless of whatever anyone postulates or suggests, and regardless of whatever evidence is used to explain the existence of divinity, no one has been able to define conclusively what created the planet we inhabit and why. Every explanation offered is either inconclusive or speculative at best. We are kept enthused by allegorical representations of mythology, documented adulterations of history, and corrupt scientific conclusions that serve the ones pushing the current narrative. I would explain that. It is not my intention to spend time discrediting what people believe and cherish as truth. These are merely my observations based on evidence seen. Plus, according to my ancient tradition, and when I say my ancient tradition, I mean my African ancient tradition that predates any belief system known to man. My ancient tradition, it is best to believe that truth is. That's it. Truth is. So we do not spend time being bothered with explaining that which we cannot fully comprehend or assume we will be able to understand on any concrete level. So, moving on. That's there too. So, moving on. It's there. I can't, only one camera, so if not, I'll show you. So, moving on. Maybe I'll get my guy to do it. This is the second paragraph. It's very interesting. Over the years, I have heard a few speak about divine purpose, on how gratifying it is to discover one's divine purpose, and how beneficial life becomes when one performs whatever function this purpose specifies. The function the divine purpose specified that is performed can be referred to as divine duty, and should be regarded as the specific duty they were created to perform, whoever has the divine revelation, that is. Even though I remain skeptical about specifics, in theory, I did agree with this conclusion when I first heard it, and still do, albeit to some degree. We are all unique, individually endowed with talents and attributes that allow us to perform set tasks in ways that cannot be duplicated by another. This, in my opinion, is further evidence of us having been created by something much greater than whatever we can assume ourselves to be. Evidence of a greater intelligence, and because of our evident state consciousness, I decide to use the word divine. Now there's a little bit more, but I haven't edited it and it's not complete, and it's turning out all right. It was a good write. Interesting write today. I decided to sit in front of the computer and do some writing. So, during this process of lightening the load, my mind kept bouncing back and forth with regards to purpose, talking about purpose. And I wrote down a few things with regards to purpose, aligned with my early thoughts in the morning, which was around unity and why we unite. And I think I talked about this before. Why do we unite? Why do we want to unite? Because that's the buzzword, that's the catchphrase now. We have to unite in order to overcome. We must unite. To do what exactly? When we unite, what do we unite to do? All right. Now, with regards to that, I'm going to read a quote from the first of three quotes that I wrote down from The Art of War by Sun Tzu. And this one specifically has to do with uniting. And I'll explain when I finish it. I'd also put that on the... I think I'll put a graphic up for it.
Please unlock your device.
My phone spies on me. It actually listens to what I say and talks back when I don't need it to talk back. So I'm going to switch it off. I hope you don't mind. It's going to be like an hour session anyway, so anything happens, we don't have to do whatever I need to cut out and make smaller vids, I would. But this is like, I've decided on this new format where I just come, sit down, and just go crazy in front of the camera and, put the mic really close so you can hear me shout, and do an hour. So it's like every session would probably be an hour, and I'll just take out snippets and post them online when I want to. All right, so now let's go back to this quote. And it's from, I think it was Stratagem. It says, hence the saying, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the results of 100 battles. If you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. Okay, that's one. All right, so what does this mean? I mean, when we want to relate this to uniting in order to overcome. All right, first of all, why do we need to unite? Evidently, the reason why we have to come together is because there's strength in numbers. So when we come together, when we unite, we strengthen our position against whatever opposition we are uniting to confront. Yes, so we want to unite in order to strengthen our position. Now, the question is, what is our position? That's a good one, too. Who are we uniting? I mean, what's our opposition? I just said that, yeah? Who or what is our opposition? So we need to know who we're uniting to confront. And what situation have they created that has forced us to unite? What are we rebelling against? What are we fighting for? And then who are we? Hence the issue of knowing yourself and knowing your enemy. Who are we? Now, by the time I went through all of this, I realized that uniting was a bloody waste of time. Why? Because, and this is my opinion, this is not literal fact, this is my opinion, yeah? We were all born into, everybody alive today, we were all born into an existing system that was already in motion. And we sort of like cogs in the wheel. We came in and we fit into the system, and through our conscious or unconscious contributions, we have kept the system going. Now, if the system itself is corrupt, What does that say about those who participate in keeping the system going? Exactly. So, who are we really fighting against? If we sit down and we look at it in terms of the globalist and the situation that we're fighting now, the New World Order, blah, de, blah, de, blah, Corona, and everything else that has to do with everything. So back to this. So like it says in the Art of War, know yourself, know your enemy. Now, by virtue of us participating in the system from a very early stage of awareness, our entire educational system is part of the overall system because it is designed to put us into a particular position. As we grow, we evolve with the system, and we bring our own ingenuity into the system in order to make sure that it stays strong. So if we sit down and really do an honest check, we'd realize that the enemy that we're looking at, the 5,000 families that control 95% of the world's wealth, the New World Order, the World Economic Forum, the central banks of the world, the globe holders, the warmongers, the corrupt politicians, the pharmaceutical industry, blah, de, blah, de, blah, all of these, they're all part of the same system. Some of us work for them. We depend on the revenues we generate from them in order to survive. Even though our ideals or our assumed ideals are in conflict with our activity, we still carry out those activities anyway. So how righteous are we? We do business with them. I mean, if somebody who works for the devil comes into my shop and he pays cash, chances are that I'll take the money. I'll just rationalize and say, you know what, I'm going to use the money and do some good. Maybe I'll give some to an angel, so it sort of like washes the money. But that's all bullshit. I took the money. So whatever the devil does, I am complicit in supporting what that devil does because I've taken money from the devil. It's that simple. For me, like I said, my opinion, really, my show, my opinion, that's where we are. So if I look at it that way, like I said, looking at the idea of uniting, when people unite, it's usually successful if they unite for a particular ideal, and then everyone is committed to that particular ideal. That way, they are strong when united because they are an unbreakable force. Everyone is moving in one direction for one designated purpose. So uniting, first of all, let's say all Africans now want to unite and have one unified continent. What are our ideals? What is the foundation of our beliefs individually that would be attractive enough to make each and every one of us commit to this particular agenda? That's a good question. Now, sit down and think about this. There's so many people who are African who don't want to even be identified as being African. So many of us live in the diaspora. So many of us have married non-Africans. In fact, some of us have even married descendants of the people that enslaved our ancestors. So the question now is, how do you see yourself? Who is you? Who am I? The only way, in my opinion, people can unite is if they individually commit to the same ideal or communal ideal. Let's say 10 of us stay in a compound and we all want clean drinking water. And Doesn't matter where we get our water from. We all want clean drinking water so that we can all have this clean drinking water from one repository, and so it would improve the quality of our lives. So each and every one of us would go back into our little apartments, huts, houses, whatever, and make a commitment to this particular objective. That commitment would involve us doing what is necessary in order to achieve that objective individually, without worrying about what the other person is doing, without quantifying what the other person is doing, without checking to see if we are doing less or no, just individually committing towards accomplishing this thing. So each one just does what they need to do, and collectively we have now united in order to achieve one particular objective. That's what I'm talking about. This idea, philosophy, whatever we choose to call it, I picked up and I expanded on from, again, I would mention the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept by Neely Fuller. A brilliant book. You can get the book from the website where he sells it. It's called producejustice.com. And the idea of being united, like the title, there was one episode where he explained the title of the book, and that's really where this came from. United Independent Compensating, but united and independent. So each individual is united within. If we want a better world, and we always complain about the existing world we live in, but we are not cognizant of the fact that our contributions in the existing world actually help maintain the existing world the way it is, then how will we get a better world? Because, like what Einstein said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again while expecting a different result. That's kind of like what we're doing. So if you're complaining and you haven't actually taken a look at yourself as a member of the existing world, as a participant in everything that happens in the existing world, and there is no self-accountability for what you individually do, then why do you expect some kind of collective responsibility? It's interesting, isn't it? I did a video, I think 2 or 3 videos ago, where I talked about lies. We all lie. I lie. I lie. I may be lying to you right now. You don't know. I lie. Lies. We lie. But if you confess that you lie, and you decide to commit to telling yourself the truth, now that is one step towards repairing your character, my character, our character. Now, if each and every one of us decided that we were going to be generous for a week, generous not in terms of carrying money, generous in terms of how you use your time and energy to help someone else as much as you possibly can. You commit to it without the need to film yourself doing it, without the need to have somebody clap for you, pat you on the back, and reward you, but doing it because of a personal commitment to that activity. Now imagine the kind of world we would live in, the kind of revelation that we will see if individually we actually commit to being better. But first of all, acknowledging that whatever resultant we see, we are part of that problem that created that resultant. Not saying, no, I don't do this, so it's impossible for me to actually see myself as somebody who has made the world decay. It is only those people in... Nah. In one way or the other, in some fashion, we have all contributed to what we see today as our reality. Even our silence has actually guaranteed our complicity. Even our silence. All right, so that's the first one, the first quote I was talking about. So I'd repeat it again, I'd read it again. It says, hence the saying, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Didn't say you'd win, but it says you need not fear the result. If you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you would also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. I would suggest that we get to know ourselves first and find out if we are our own enemies. That way, before we start looking for somebody on the outside to fight, we might as well start dealing with the one on the inside. Because it's like what insecurity does. This is, I have a lot of experience with this one. Where you have, there was going back a long time, I had this, she was like drop dead gorgeous. And when I met her, that's where she worked. She worked in a place where she had to interact with a lot of men. That's where I met her. That was her career. She had to interact with a lot of men. She had to talk with a lot of men. She had to sell whatever product she was selling to a lot of men. Her appearance had to be seductive somewhat, alluring. You know, to create the distraction and help her succeed at selling what she was selling. That's how I met her. Now, after starting a relationship with this lady, guess what? Now I don't want her to do what she does anymore because I don't like the idea of her meeting or in any way, because all of a sudden I'm like insecure. I kind of think that, maybe she'll leave me for somebody else. So I'm not secure with her. And then she constantly has to keep reaffirming her commitment to me, frustrating her. Eventually, my fear of loss results in what? The loss. Relationship ends. And then I blame her. She flirts too much. She doesn't look after her. But I met her in that situation. What gives me the right to change her? This idea of self-righteousness, this idea that, because we think or act or feel in this certain way, we are correct. We are the righteous ones. Nah. I walked away from that. I'm an asshole. I don't try and pretend that I'm not. I can be a real pain in the butt to do business with, to live with. You can ask my wife. You can even ask my kids. But I know. I just try and improve my level of assholeness. That's it. I just try and improve. I am aware that I am a twat. I'm an idiot. I can be very, very annoying. I am aware of all of these things. I'm not going around denying it. When somebody says, you're an asshole, yep, I know. I can be a pain in the backside. I know that. But I'm working on it. So I hear it less. And when I see myself becoming one, I can track it and say, hey, you don't really need to be like this right now. You've made so much progress. And then what's the even today, before I actually set up the equipment and started filming, I was just frustrated at, the people walking around and all the noise, and it started getting me a little bit angst. And I sat down and I said, Why am I upset? Why am I really upset? What's the real reason why I'm upset? And I had nothing. There's no reason. There was no real reason. Okay, people are walking by. Are they supposed to glide by? Are they supposed to fly by? They have to walk by, and because they're using shoes, it's going to make some noise. Okay, don't shoot when you know people are going to be walking around, when it's going to be very busy. This is the internal rush hour here. Why do you want to make a video during the internal rush hour when you know that you're going to be disturbed? That means that you're looking for a reason to be responsible. Wait. When the place is empty, it's your office anyway. Do your video. There's nobody there to disturb you, apart from the telephone. Switch the telephone off. Don't blame the telephone for ringing while you're making your video. It's your telephone. Switch it off. That's the responsibility I'm talking about. Simplistic, but it's direct. It's in your face. It's my telephone. Switch it off. Don't complain. Oh, who's calling me now? What do you mean who's calling me now? It's a mobile telephone. Did you send out the signal to someone saying, don't call me now, I'm recording? No. Switch it off. Now that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Taking that personal responsibility, not blaming anyone, any situation, anything for the outcome, for the emotional outcome that I see manifesting. Knowing fully well that it is the internal pressure that I put, the stress that I put on my own self that would result in this physical representation. So much work we have to do. So much work I have to do. I'm doing the work. I'm suggesting, let's not say I'm trying to. I am suggesting that we all do this work because I can see the value. I can see the value, the transformation in character. I can see the value, the reestablishment of my integrity cells, the rebirth of my integrity cells, the feeling that I have of responsibility, the feeling that I have, that feeling where I feel like I'm making progress. I feel like a better person. I refuse to lie to myself. And if I decide to lie to you, at least I am aware that I'm telling you a lie. There's a reason why. Either I'm afraid of an outcome or I'm trying to deceive you. I know it's one of the two. And I accept that. So I accept the sin before I sin it. To use pardon the pun, or to use some other phrase. So yeah, this is it. So revolving around unity, like I said, why we should unite. When we are individually ununited, disjointed, and compromised, yet we still go around talking about uniting and believing that we would be able to solve problems. We never see it happen because of the individual, the commitment the individual has to make towards the world being better. If the individual cannot commit to improving their own character, how can the individual commit to something as grandiose as securing a continent? The first available sign of compromise, the person would turn their head. The first 6 zeros they see, they will betray their brother. If we sit down and look at all the black revolutionaries that have been killed around the world, they have all been killed by black people. And usually the people who were beside them, carrying out the revolutionary act. Well, apart from maybe Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. Those two, I think, are the exception. But look at Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, to name a few. It is not the so-called enemy that killed him. Our own kind killed our own kind. Black Lives Matter. Anyway, let's move on. So the second quote is very interesting. It kind of like has to do with the first two, but the Art of War talks about stratagem and the different formats. So stratagem is where the first quote came from. This one has to do with tactical depositions. And two very interesting ones. It's kind of like repetitious, but I'll read them both anyway. It says, Sun Tzu said, the good fighters of old put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat and then waited for an opportunity of defeating the enemy. I'll repeat that again. The good fighters of old first put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat, preparation, and then waited for the opportunity of defeating the enemy. To secure ourselves against defeat lies in our own hands. Commitment. But the opportunity of defeating the enemy is provided by the enemy himself. Knowing thy enemy. When you know yourself, then you can prepare for literally any kind of threat that is actually going to come in front. The idea of preparation is important. I think since the beginning of this year, I've been talking about, even the last video I did, which I did on Sunday, was about in anticipation of what would happen post-COVID and how to prepare for post-COVID, sort of. And if we sit down and we think about this, like what it says, the short memory. The good fighters of old put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat first. So they had, they would have made sure that if there's going to be a war, they would ensure that the possibility of defeat was greatly diminished. So they would have a standing army, that sort of thing. They would make sure that the army, those who participate in the army, are loyal. So they would check that. They would look for all the nooks and crannies, all the weaknesses in their defenses. They would make sure that the attack is up to speed, blah, 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 blah. Using this military analogy type thing, yeah? So it's the same. It's like if I sit down and I knew there was going to be a disaster, say in 2 years, and I sit down and I ask myself, okay, what are the things that are essential for me to survive throughout these 2 years where there's going to be a disaster? What kind of disaster do we anticipate happening? What effect would it have? And would it stop me from being able to access particular goods or services that I may require for my survival? How do I compensate for that lack that is going to be? So it's a question of, I remember when I was talking about people going out and buying extra groceries just in case there's a food shortage, which I still anticipate it may not come, but it may come. Getting specific items to help you cope just in case we go through this food shortage situation that was actually publicized by United Nations. I didn't make this up. There are articles on the UN website. You can go and read them yourself. And they're talking about the anticipation of food shortages happening starting from last year. It's supposed to carry on until 2023, I think. Then, you look, okay, fine, there's going to be food shortage. So what are the things that I don't need to, or that I need to go out and buy? I get most of that when I go grocery shopping. If I buy 2, normally now I buy 4, I save 2 things that are going to last for a year or 2. They're not going to expire quickly. Then I can actually stockpile what I need in order to cope. The ones that I perishable, I know I have to get a small garden somewhere where I can grow some of my vegetables, so I can just pick them up and cut. And these things I do, so I'm not talking about what I don't do. Most of the fruits and vegetables I eat come from my farm. So then we look at the financial situation. Like I said, my recommendation for everybody was to buy precious metals, regardless of how small you have. Save your money in precious metals. So if there's a huge depreciation in the value of whatever currency that you use, you wouldn't be affected so much because all the central banks go back to gold anyhow. So now you take this particular philosophy and you apply it to different segments of your life: economics, education, entertainment, whichever direction you want to go to, and be prepared for the eventuality of what may or may not come. Ultimately, if it doesn't come, you still have them, they're yours. If it comes, then you were prepared. Rather than be in a situation of chosen ignorance and be like, nah, everything will be all right. Remember what happened in the UK and America with regards to toilet roll when Corona first broke out? Toilet roll. And that was based on propaganda. You didn't really need it. It was just based on propaganda. So you can imagine how dependent people are on the mainstream media and how easily convinced people are listening to these people who have repetitively and continuously lied to us about literally everything under the sun. Yet, we take what they say as gospel. Good luck. Anyways, so that's that. That's two very interesting quotes that I felt were synonymous to our current state of affairs, synonymous with our current state of affairs. Tactical disposition and also stratagem. Victory by stratagem, winning by stratagem. Anyone who wants a PDF copy of the book, tell me, I'll send it to you. Send me an email. The Art of War, that is. You can just go online and download it or walk into any bookstore and buy one. The translation I use is, I have 5 translations, but the one I most prefer is the one done by James Clavell. Very, let's see, I think I have it here. Yep, I do. It's that one. The Art of War by Sun Tzu, forward by James Clavell. Very, very solid piece. I carry it almost everywhere. I've been reading it. I think I bought my very first translation, translation of The Art of War in 2001. Sorry, apologize. 2001. And I find it very interesting. It's useful. It's very useful for me. It is useful. Okay, so what else shall we talk about? We've talked about unity in the brief and interesting way that I do. Talked about unity and talked about knowing thyself. We've talked about a few different things. And today, the 23rd of February, 2021, we are still experiencing the effects of the pandemic, but we can actually see that the numbers are dwindling because the criteria for the test cycles was changed by the World Health Organization when Biden got into power. So we're expecting things to get back to some semblance of normalcy soon. I would say, optimistically, I'd say April, May, we should be 60-70% back to normal. Then it has to do with the ability to travel, and if they're going to push forward the idea of this health passports and all of this malarkey for contract tracing and all that, which brings a whole different spin to the game. And I guess we'll just have to see what we'll see. We'll deal with that when the time comes. There's certain things that you cannot prepare for per se. How do you prepare for a situation where your government enforces a law where you cannot travel unless you have a a health passport or vaccinated passport. You just can't prepare for that one. No matter what you do, those kind of things, you just deal with them when you get to them. I know the position that I stand. I know where I lean towards. So enough said about that. There's the world is being controlled. The narrative that is being spewed out everywhere is heavily controlled now. So there's certain things that you can and cannot say because you need the platforms in order to get your videos out and get your message across to the people, the audience that listen to you. So it's not about treading easy. It's just about being prudent, I'd say. So now, I guess that kind of like covers everything. Probably going on strong for just over an hour, or close to an hour. So I said the minimum I want to do is 1 hour. I get to talk to myself and find an audience that would listen and share information that is in my head with the people that want to hear. You can find my videos on my website, ea2wo.com, or YouTube. Just type in ea2wo. I am also on Rumble. I upload videos on Rumble, and again, type in ea2wo. Instagram as well. I upload videos on Instagram, so those that follow me on Instagram and Facebook, most social media platforms, on Twitter, I upload. I still use those mediums, although I suspect I might actually close my Facebook account next week. And after the last exit from Facebook prison, I kind of like get the feeling that I'm going back in. I've already received another warning. So I'm tired of the platform anyway. I think it's better. Telegram is where I'm at. That's the platform that I really, really enjoy using now. Everything I do, I post on Telegram. Videos that I do, videos other people do. Documents, e-books, whatever. It's so easy to use. Telegram. It's very fluid. You can join so many news channels. You have direct access to information. You don't even need to switch on your telly. You can really get every single headline, and you can hear all perspectives, both the coordinated, adulterated one and one that has elements of truth attached to it, which is very hard to decipher these days, considering what we see. So I am on Telegram. It's ea2wo online. You can catch me on Telegram there. I do a lot of chatting. I've, like I said, I recently started writing again. I'm working on a third book. Hopefully I'll be able to get the second one out and then start working on the third one. I self-publish also. Once the books are ready, once they're out there, I would send a notice out, and you can always get them from my shopping site, which is ea-2.com. That's where I sell merchandise, t-shirts, and books, and hopefully some other things that I'm going to be putting there. That's a new one of the new ones. When I want to learn, I listen. Very interesting. One of my original old quotes. I think last year we did Explaining Inspireware. You can always go back and check out that series, and this was one of the first series. We just remade this. And so, I don't monetize any of these videos. I just put them out there. I sat down the other day. I was thinking about why I do what I do. why I do this. I have a pretty hectic schedule daily. I mean, I still work and run the businesses that I have, and other activities, and I like to. I have what I would call a functioning mini studio in my office, so I make these videos in the office, and I like to do 2 or 3 of these every week, if I can. If I can do 4, I do 4. If I can do 3, I do 3. It all depends on the amount of time I'm availed. But the idea of doing this, I remember last year, about February last year, and I did what I called my disclaimer, where I talked about the reasons why I want to start making videos. And so briefly, I want to talk about the reasons why I'm still making these videos and why I'm putting in so much of my time and effort and money now to make sure that, one, the quality is good. You can hear what I'm saying. You can see me, and I can... we do some edits, and we put up graphics here and there if we need to do, like if there are any articles like what we talked about, The Art of War. I'd actually publish that, and you'd be able to see it during the video when we do the edits. And the reason why I do this, I have to have staff to do most of all of these things, and I feel like I'm 50 now. I've 50. I'm going to be 51 this year, based on the Gregorian calendar. That is, maybe on other calendars I may be older. And I feel like I've been fortunate in so many respects to have lived and worked in different places. I was born in England. Spent literally all my childhood in Nigeria. Went back to England when I was 18 years old, and I had to go back to university because I didn't study in Nigeria. I was way too reckless. I was, really bumming around, and it was decided that probably better if I went abroad. I'd be able to study. So I went out and I worked before I went back to school. I did some work in Finland, and then I moved to Indonesia 2005, sorry, 2005. First time I came to Indonesia, and I came back in 2006, and I've been more or less here all the way through, apart from the 1 year where I was back in Nigeria when I lost my dad, which was 2008, 2007, 2008, and I came back. So I've had 2.5, I'd say, experiences with regards to cultures, working habits, and some degree of successes I've had working in all the different places I've worked in. I've had my own business since 1999, and I used to contract, but I think the only other time I worked for somebody was in 2006 for about 4 months when I first came to Indonesia, and I was called to be a project director for a furniture production company, which I did, and I hated. And so I've always enjoyed the independence of working for myself. When I first wrote my book, I sold 300 of my books from a backpack, and I used to sell them in nightclubs and wine bars and places I'll go to socialize. And, that's how I got by. I used to sell soaps in the market. I used to make my own shoes, T-shirts, and go and peddle them and sell them. I've done all kinds of different hustle games, and you name quite a few things I've done. When I was in England, I swept the street, I cleaned tube stations, I walked on the underground, I cleaned video cameras in in those very, very dirty, dusky underground stations. I used to dig septic tanks with my hand. I was a manual laborer before I went to school. I used to sell pirated software. I've done quite a few things. I've had experiences. And I've lectured As a professional, when I finished my master's degree, I helped a friend of mine do lectures at City University. At some point in time, I have spoken in conferences. I've seen a bit. I've lived in Indonesia in abject poverty on less than $2 a day, and I've had a business here that has well over 100 employees. So I have seen quite a bit. And in going through all of this, I've gained information, some wisdom. I've developed my intuition, and I've expanded my consciousness. And I feel if I cannot share this information with everyone who cares to listen, it takes away from the meaning of my life and the purpose of my being. We are all created to solve problems. That's our fundamental function. Solve problems. Procreation, communication is all about solving problems. Those are primal functions. A baby is born crying because the baby has a problem, the baby wants to eat. And we keep solving problems till we go to the next phase of our existence. It's what we do in between solving problems. And for me, what I try to do is share solutions that I've been able to accomplish, share information that I've used that has produced a result, because everything has to be based on results that I have acquired. There's no point in me doing something and I haven't had a result. Forget positive or negative. I haven't had a result, and I tell you to go and do something that I haven't tried, that I haven't put into practice. Everything that I have suggested, everything that I say in my videos, everything that I talk about is what I do. Literally, everything is what I do. I don't script. I don't prepare like a volume of notes. I don't use a I don't do any of that. I just come, sit down in front of the mic, and I wing it every time. You can check out all the videos that I do. I wing it. Apart from when I read from my book, I literally just come, sit down, think about what I want to say, write a few things, and I just do it. And it keeps me honest, because I don't fabricate anything, and I don't just go on what is popular or go on what is the current narrative. I just say what I feel and say what's inside of my head. I share that with whoever cares to listen. I'm saying all this to say this. I make these videos because I choose to. I make these videos because I learn from them. I reiterate things and I learn. I speak about the things that I've done, and I sort of it's like a reminder for myself, but it's also an opportunity to give somebody what I have also received, to pay it forward, so to speak. I don't like to use the word bless because it's a funny one for me. I don't see myself in any position to bless anybody, simply because I attribute a lot higher position to that. I just offer what has been offered to me on some level, what I have learned through research, observation, experience, and that's it. It's all about sharing. So I share what I've experienced with you, and if you apply it and you get a positive result, damn good, and you can share that with somebody else too. I tend not to encourage people to share my videos, although I ask that if you gain something from it and you believe somebody else would gain something from it, then by all means share. What I say is, if you find what I say interesting, if you enjoy the kind of conversations that I have, then subscribe and give it a like on YouTube. You give it a thumbs up. You can put a comment below, which actually helps accelerate the distribution of the video to more people, because I don't know how to put the tags in. Anybody who knows should actually give me a quick lesson on how to put tags in. I just put them on and I share them everywhere, and then whatever happens, happens. But I do hope that in some way or form, fashion, I am making some kind of contribution towards whoever is listening. I try to bring value into every situation that I interact with, because if I want to make an impact on anybody's life situation, it's about bringing value, so it can be measured. The impact can be measured. It can be quantified, rather than just one that breezes in and out based on theory. Well, anyway, I hope I haven't taken too much of your time. And thank you again for staying with me through this hour. And stay safe. Look after yourselves. It's a very funny time we're in now. Very, very interesting as well. Lots of opportunities to come out on the other side better off. But please take time and get yourself better informed about everything that you want to participate in before you go into it. Because right now, there are a lot of people selling fly ointments everywhere. So, thank you again, and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Remember, hit the subscribe button, share this if you gain anything from it, like it, make a comment. If you want to contact me direct, it's info@ea2wo.com. Until next time, God bless. Bye-bye.